Imagine a world where being generous is the fastest way to reach the peak of power. I discovered the chance compensation system, a cheat that turns my gifts into insane rewards. If I give away a treasure, the system strikes back with 100 or 1,000-fold return. While others struggle for every scrap of power, I simply give it away to get more. I was born as Xiao Kun, the twin brother of the destined protagonist, Xiao Yan. I refused to just stand in his shadow while he climbed toward the emperor's throne. I refined the fallen heart flame, turning my body into a constant engine of automatic cultivation. With a 6th-grade alchemist inheritance, I now hold secrets that the Empire's masters only dream of. Currently, I am a 9-star fighter with a mountain of gold and a hunger for more. To truly unlock my potential, I need the finest alchemy tools and rare materials available. That leads me straight to the middle auction house and the mesmerizing presence of Yafei. I am not just here to shop, I am here to begin my ascent to the top. Let us dive into the details of how I am breaking the logic of this world. I am lying on a boulder at the top of a cliff in Wutan City, just thinking about my life. It has been 14 years since I traveled into the world of the popular novel, Battle Through the Heavens. I was reborn as Xiao Kun, the elder twin brother of the story's protagonist, Xiao Yan. While we look similar, we are not identical. I was born just a few minutes before him. I could easily just relax and wait for my brother to become an emperor in a few decades. But why just wait? I want to make a name for myself and reach the peak of power. I have certain dreams like winning over the most stunning and powerful women who grace this world. Currently, I am a 4-star fighter. My talent is strong, similar to how my brothers used to be. Right now, Xiao Yan is struggling. His cultivation has regressed and stayed at the 3rd level for years. I know it is, because Yao Lao is absorbing his energy, but I will not interfere with his growth. Hardship is necessary for him. Besides, I do not have the strength to challenge a master like Yao Lao. For years, I wondered why I did not have a golden finger or a cheat like other transmigrators. Then, a mechanical voice suddenly echoed in my head, announcing the binding of a system. It is called the chance compensation system. The rules are simple but absolutely terrifying in their potential. As long as I give valuable things away for free, I receive a random critical strike compensation. The multiplier can be 10 times, 1,000, or even 1,000,000,000 times the value of the gift. I immediately opened my novice gift package to see what the system had in store for me. I was shocked. I received experience cards that grant the power of a fighting king and fighting emperor. These cards allow me to temporarily reach those peak levels for 1 hour, which is a perfect lifesaver. But the real prize was the falling heart flame, the 14th ranked flame in this world. This flame is known as a cultivation cheat because it constantly tempers the body day and night. With this, my progress will be far faster than any ordinary practitioner could ever hope for. The system also gave me the Earth Spirit Pill and Ice Spirit Cold Spring to ensure safe absorption. I can now perfectly control this strange fire without the risks others would normally face. With these treasures in my possession, the path to becoming a powerhouse is finally open to me. I was buzzing with excitement. Once I absorbed the falling heart flame, my cultivation speed would absolutely skyrocket. Knowing the fusion of strange fires is a delicate process, I rushed home and told my father I needed to retreat. I explained to Xiao Zhan that I had reached a bottleneck, then headed to the back mountain to find solitude. I found a secluded natural cave and sealed the entrance with a massive boulder, leaving only small gaps for air. Before starting, I asked the system to mask the energy fluctuations of the merger so I wouldn't be discovered. With everything secure, I sat cross-legged and laid out my treasures, the Earth Spirit Pill and Blood Lotus Pill. I also prepared the Ice Spirit Cold Spring and the Nei Ling, a precious variant of Nashi Stone. Finally, I summoned the main event, the Falling Heart Flame, which appeared as a dormant, milky white snake of heat. I started by swallowing the Blood Lotus and Earth Spirit Pills, feeling a cold energy surge through my meridians. Suddenly, my skin oozed blood that rapidly hardened into a crimson armor, covering my body and even my eyes. Protected by this bloody shell, I grabbed the white fire seed and swallowed it, feeling it distribute peacefully through my body. Unlike the agony Xiao Yan faced in the original stories, this process was smooth and devoid of destructive pain. I drank the Ice Spirit Cold Spring and began the refining fire technique to further stabilize the strange flame. Finally, I used the Na Ling to pull the falling heart flame into a stable internal space, completing the fusion. The process took 2 weeks, and the result was staggering. I leaped from a 4-star to a 9-star fighter. I suspect this system is responsible for this massive jump, as refining fires usually doesn't increase cultivation this much. I soon discovered a special trait of the flame. It constantly produces a heart fire that tempers my battle energy. This means my body is in a state of automatic cultivation at all times, even when I am not trying. In fact, one day of this passive tempering is worth 11 days of my usual active cultivation. It is fantastic. I also found I could now manifest solid flames, a feat usually reserved for high-level 4th-grade pharmacists. As I walked back to the manor in my tattered clothes, the family members looked at me with total confusion. I ignored their whispers and returned to my room, eager to test the system's critical strike compensation using Xiao Yan. After cleaning up and putting on a fresh black suit, I made my way towards Xiao Yan's room. I knew he was likely practicing. Even though his progress had stalled for months, his determination never wavered. I encouraged him because I knew Yao Lao needed his fighting spirit. I wanted him to believe his talent would return. I knocked and stepped inside. Xiao Yan looked tired, but his eyes still held that spark of unyielding willpower. I decided to test my luck. I handed him 1,000 gold coins, telling him to buy whatever he needed. He was stunned. To an ordinary person, that amount is a fortune, and even for him, it was a shock. Before he could question me, I told him to just accept it and walked away, waiting for the system to trigger. Then, it happened. A notification chimed in my head, 1,000 times critical compensation for my generosity. Just like that, I gained 100 million gold coins. It was more than my family's total profit for a decade. With this kind of wealth, the upcoming middle auction became my new target. I could buy almost anything I wanted. But money isn't everything. For long-term growth, I knew I needed to become a pharmacist to produce my own pills. I already had the fire and wood attributes plus the soul power of a traverser. I just lacked the inheritance. Since inheritances are usually passed from master to apprentice, I decided to try a gamble using my system. I visited a local clinic and bought a cheap medical secret book for 500 gold coins. I spotted a random child and gave him the book, pretending it was a destined encounter of fate. The system reacted instantly. This time, I triggered a staggering 100,000 times critical compensation. I was floored. The reward was a 6th-grade pharmacist inheritance letter, putting me on par with the Empire's best. The system offered a choice: take the physical item or absorb the knowledge directly into my mind. I chose direct inheritance. Suddenly, a massive flood of alchemical information rushed through my consciousness. I spent half a day sorting it all out, only to find that the highest levels were still sealed. The secrets of the 7th to 9th grades will remain locked until I reach the strength of a Du Ling. I spent some time reviewing the knowledge etched into my mind. Thanks to Yao Lao, I now possess the most complete pill recipes for everything up to grade 6. With this inherited experience, I feel confident. Once I get my hands on a cauldron, refining 3rd-grade elixirs will be a breeze for me. As night fell, I sat cross-legged in meditation, guiding the energy of the refining fire through my meridians and into my dantian. My liquid energy is nearly overflowing. With the falling heart flame's help, I expect to break through to Dadu Shi within 2 weeks. Still, my current cultivation technique is lacking. I need to find the Fen Zhu, a legendary technique capable of infinite evolution. The next morning, I headed to the middle auction house. I needed a medicine cauldron, storage rings, and a variety of medicinal herbs. As I entered, I was greeted by a beautiful maid. Her presence was certainly a welcome sight, though I kept my focus on my goals. While waiting in the reception room, the door opened to reveal Ya Fei, the chief auctioneer. She was breathtaking in a red cheongsam. Her charm was overwhelming, but I managed to keep my composure. I could tell she noticed my self-control, which seemed to pique her interest. Ya Fei listed the items and the total price. It was a significant sum, but a drop in the bucket compared to my 100 million gold coins. I handed her my gold card. The look of surprise on her face when she saw my high-tier account balance was priceless. I bought 2 storage rings. I'll keep one for myself and save the other to give to Xiao Yan as a critical strike later. As I left, Ya Fei suggested I consign any pills I create to her auction house. I gave her a knowing look and promised I would. She seemed skeptical about whether a young man like me could actually become a pharmacist, but I enjoy proving people wrong. I returned to my secluded cave in the back mountains. It was the perfect, undisturbed spot to begin my first alchemy session. Using the strange fire, I preheated the cauldron and began the delicate process of extracting and condensing the medicinal ingredients. The inheritance made a huge difference. Despite a few initial failures, I quickly found my rhythm and started producing quality pills. After 4 days of intense practice, I've established a respectable success rate. With more experience, I will soon reach absolute perfection. After finishing my alchemy session, I realized it had been a while since I last saw Xiao Yan. I decided to visit him and give him the elixirs I had refined to trigger a system reward. When I arrived at his courtyard, I found him talking with a girl in a beautiful purple dress. It was Xiao Kun. She looked elegant and pure, like a blooming green lotus in the morning sun. In this life, she is still Xiao Yan's childhood sweetheart, and I have no intention of interfering. To be honest, she is far too young for me. I prefer the company of more mature women. Besides, she is vital to Xiao Yan's journey, and I didn't want to cause any unnecessary trouble. I teased her a little about how often she visits Xiao Yan, which made her blush and look away. Seeing her shy reaction, I smiled and decided not to push her any further than that. I handed Xiao Yan a ring containing Foundation Establishment Essence liquid to accelerate his progress in the fighting spirit stage. I told him to practice hard, believing that his natural talent would eventually return to him. Both Xiao Yan and Shuner were stunned. They had no idea I had become a pharmacist. To cover my tracks, I lied and said a mysterious expert had taken me on as a disciple. They rolled their eyes at my shameless excuse, but they had no choice but to believe me. Xiao Yan was visibly moved, his eyes reddening as he thanked me for my support and kindness. As I left them, the system notification sounded. I had triggered a massive critical strike compensation. The rewards were incredible. I received a high-end spatial ring and a variety of powerful, high-grade pills. From the purple heartbreaking barrier pill to the Pozong pill, I had essentially made a fortune. I wasn't worried about the instability of using pills to break through, thanks to the fallen heart flame. Then I thought of my father, Xiao Yan. He is currently only a 5-star great fighter. I realized I could use some of these pills to help him reach the peak of his realm. I waited until nightfall to visit him, wanting to keep these precious treasures a secret from others. When I entered his room, my father looked surprised to see me visiting so late in the evening. I told him the same story about my mysterious master and presented him with the cultivation pills. Xiao Yan was overwhelmed with emotion, touched that I would be so considerate of his own strength. I decided it was time to help my father reach his full potential, so I presented him with 2 bottles of precious elixirs. The green spirit and purple heart pills were more than enough to push him to the peak of the great fighter realm. Father was stunned by their value. These pills cost nearly 200 million gold coins, more than our family currently possesses. He tried to give them back to me, worrying that someone with his low potential shouldn't waste such rare treasures. I reassured him that I could already refine 3rd-grade elixirs and would soon master the 4th grade on my own. Seeing my confidence, he finally accepted them, his eyes filling with pride as he pinned the family's future on me. A few days later, I heard that Middle's auction was beginning, and I needed to buy some items to replenish my stock. To avoid drawing unnecessary attention while sweeping the goods, I donned a black cloak and robe to hide my identity. The auction venue was packed, though I noticed the major family patriarchs were missing, suggesting nothing world-shaking was expected. That changed the moment Yafei stepped onto the stage. Her presence was captivating, and the room fell instantly silent. As a transmigrator, I had admired her beauty for a long time, and seeing her in person was quite a sight. The first item was a 2nd-tier earth element inner armor, a rare piece of gear capable of resisting fighter-level attacks. 2 mercenary captains began a heated bidding war, taunting each other as the price climbed higher and higher. I decided to end the game quickly and dropped a massive bid from the corner, silencing the entire hall. The mercenaries were too intimidated to counter, and I easily walked away with the armor. I didn't stop there, successfully bidding on 10 other items, including yellow-rank fighting skills, weapons, and pills. My sudden spending spree had the crowd whispering in curiosity, but I remained hidden beneath my cloak. Then, Yafei revealed the main attraction for the evening, a mysterious red scroll known as the Fire Control Art. This Xuan-level exercise was far more valuable than any weapon because it could be passed down through generations. For a family like mine, such a technique could be the foundation to rival the 3 major families of the city. I sat in the auction house, watching Yafei present a rare Xuan rank manual called the Fire Control Art. The starting bid was 10 gold coins, a price that immediately silenced most of the crowd. A few wealthy merchants tried their luck, but the bidding war did not last very long. As the price reached 30, I decided it was time to step in and end the contest. I calmly bid 35 gold coins, leaving the room in shock at my sudden display of wealth. After winning the manual, I headed to the reception room to collect my prize and settle the bill. Suddenly, a sweet fragrance filled the air as Yafei entered the room with a playful smile. I lowered my cloak and revealed my identity, reminding her that we had already met. She was genuinely surprised by my identity and my willingness to spend so much gold so quickly. I joked that this was only the beginning and there would be many more surprises to come. Yafei handed over the fire control art and charged me a total of 51 gold coins. Because of my spending, she gave me a middle family VIP card for all future auctions. This card grants me special treatment and reduces the auction house fees significantly for my future trades. Before leaving, I decided to show her a purple heart-breaking barrier pill that I possessed. Yafei was stunned, as 4th-rank medicines are incredibly rare in a small place like Wutan City. She quickly called in Master Guni, an alchemist, to appraise the pill's authenticity. I noticed a hint of arrogance in his eyes, a common trait among those who master alchemy. Guni was skeptical at first, doubting that a young man from the Xiao family held such treasure. But the moment he smelled the fragrance of the purple elixir, his skepticism turned into pure desire. Realizing it could help a great fighter break through to 1-star strength, Guni was completely tempted. Instead of auctioning it, he offered me 60 gold coins to buy the pill for himself. I agreed immediately, knowing that helping an alchemist would provide me with useful connections in the future. With my pockets heavier and new allies made, I thanked them both and stepped back into the city. I could tell Yafei and Guni were suspicious. They think I have a 4th-grade pharmacist master backing me. They have no idea. I just gave my auction items to Xiao Yan to trigger my system's critical strike. The result was insane. 1 trillion times compensation. I received legendary pills, divine gear, and secret evolution techniques. Among the rewards was a cultivation method I named the Fen Ling Ju. It evolves by devouring different flames. What makes it special is that it trains my soul power alongside my body, something rare in this world. I retreated to my mountain cave to devour the falling heart flame. The heat was agonizing, but the power was immense. As the flame merged with me, my technique evolved to the middle Xuan level. Then, I felt a sudden surge. My energy compressed into a diamond-shaped crystal. I had officially broken through to become a Dadu Shi. I tested my new strength with a simple flick of my finger, shattering a boulder instantly. I felt unstoppable. Then I equipped my new gear. The red flame sword and the sky-devouring armor felt perfectly attuned to me. I spent the next 5 months in deep meditation, pushing my cultivation to the very peak of the great fighter realm. I also mastered the first layer of the Skyfire 3 profound changes and learned how to shape fire into weapons. With my current progress, further breakthroughs will take too long in isolation. It is finally time for me to go out. I have been calculating the time and it seems Naling Yanran will arrive in a week or two to break her engagement. My brother, Xiao Yan, has finally recovered his talent and has already reached the 6th stage of fighting spirit. I suspect the foundation-building liquid I gave him accelerated his growth and woke Yao Lao from his deep sleep earlier. With his spirit restored, Xiao Yan is full of vitality. His relationship with Yuner is becoming quite close and sweet. Watching them made me realize I need a partner of my own. My heart was set on Yafei from the auction house. I found myself at the doors of the middle auction house, asking a maid to inform Yafei of my arrival. Soon, Yafei entered in a stunning red cheongsam. Her presence was enchanting and her fragrance was absolutely intoxicating. I did not hold back, telling her that her beauty keeps me awake at night. She blushed, though she tried to deflect. To show her I am serious, I revealed my fighting spirit armor. I have already reached the realm of a big fighter. She was shocked. At 15, I have surpassed her own level and I told her I have the strength to protect her. She smiled sweetly, telling me, "It depends on my future performance. I know I have time to win her over." I shifted topics and asked for help sourcing medicinal materials, including some rare ingredients for a 4th-grade elixir. Yafei was stunned that I could refine 4th-grade pills. I played it cool, mentioning my master calls me a genius. She agreed to provide the materials. As I left, I could tell she was starting to see me in a new light. 2 weeks passed in a blur of cultivation and alchemy. Tomorrow was the Xiao family annual strength test. The square was packed. People whispered about my return after skipping last year's test to keep my strength a secret. I walked past the crowds to find Xiao Yan and Shune. I told my brother it was time to wash away his shame. When Xiao Yan stepped up to the black stone tablet, the crowd expected a failure. Instead, a brilliant light erupted. The stone revealed his rank as Fighting Qi 6th stage. The silence that followed was heavy with shock and disbelief. I felt proud of him. His reputation as a failure is gone, and the whole city will soon know the truth. Now, I wonder how Naling Yanran will react tomorrow when she sees that the man she is dumping is no longer weak. I was practicing in my room when Butler Mo arrived, informing me that my father wanted me in the hall. As I walked through the backyard toward the solemn, welcoming hall, I could feel the tension in the air. Inside, my father sat with the family elders, while 3 strangers in moon-white robes waited on the right side. These guests were from the Yunnan Zong, led by a 7-star great fighter and the beautiful Nalan Yanran. It was obvious they looked down on my family, treating our current weakness with a cold and dismissive attitude. Feeling a surge of dissatisfaction, I suddenly released my peak great fighter aura, crushing the spirits of the guests. The entire hall fell into a shocked silence as everyone realized the true extent of my hidden cultivation level. Nalan Yanran looked at me with total disbelief, her pride shattered by the realization of my strength. I remained calm and composed, knowing that my presence had completely shifted the power dynamic in the room. Just then, my brother Xiao Yan entered, sensing the strange atmosphere and the way everyone was staring at me. Because of my strength, the elders treated Xiao Yan with a level of respect they usually denied him. The guest leader, Ye, finally spoke, requesting to formally withdraw the engagement between Nalan Yanran and Xiao Yan. My father was furious, his aura flaring up in response to such a blatant insult to our family honor. I stepped in to intervene, knowing that forcing a marriage would only make the Xiao family look desperate. I proposed a 3-year agreement, suggesting a duel to let victory cleanse the humiliation we suffered today. Xiao Yan accepted the challenge with fierce determination, promising that he would definitely win the fight. Driven by her own pride, Nalan Yanran agreed to the terms, and the Yunnan Zong group quickly departed. After they left, the family questioned my rapid progress, and I told them I had found a powerful teacher. Within a few days, I officially became a great fighter, and news of my talent spread throughout the clan. While the world outside grew more chaotic, I stayed focused, dedicating every single day to my exercises and secret methods. I didn't worry about traditional fighting skills because the rewards from the system far surpassed the Xiao family's mediocre techniques. Once a week, I focused on alchemy, though finding 4th-grade medicinal materials in Wutan City was a constant challenge. My weekly trips to the miter auction weren't just for materials, they were a chance to grow closer to Yafei. A full year passed in the blink of an eye, and finally, my hard work reached a boiling point. Deep in the mountain caves, I felt the energy surge until, with a sudden bang, white wings erupted from my back. I had finally broken through to the Duwang realm, stepping firmly into the ranks of the true powerhouses. My body felt renewed and flooded with power, though I had to fight the sudden urge of arrogance that came with it. I discovered new meridians on my back, allowing me to manifest fighting spirit as wings and take to the skies. Unlike before, my energy no longer sat solely in my dantian. It could now be stored and accessed from anywhere. My soul power had also skyrocketed, meaning I could now easily refine 6th-grade elixirs through my inheritance. For the first time in my life, I experienced the dream of flight, soaring high above the landscape for hours. My secret technique, shaping fire, evolved too. I could now create a massive, transparent fire snake capable of crushing rivals. Throughout the year, I shared powerful pills with my father, Xiao Yan, Shunzhi, and Yafei to accelerate their growth. I discovered that the system's critical hit rewards were higher when gifting to key figures like Xiao Yan. I also learned that gifting too often or too much at once would lower the quality of the rewards. Still, the gains were massive. I acquired high-grade transformation pills and enough resources to support the Xiao family's rise. My father reached 7-star Du Ling, while Xiao Yan and Shun'er made significant leaps in their own cultivation. Yafei also improved, reaching 8-star Du Zhe, all thanks to the high-grade elixirs I provided. Beyond strength, my relationship with Yafei deepened. We became far more intimate, and she no longer shied away from me. Now that I have the power of a Duwang and the maturity of an adult, I plan to take our relationship further. I stood outside the auction house, my heart racing like a drum against my ribs. Today was the day I'd finally make it official. Even with 2 lives of experience, this felt different. In my past life, I was a lonely bachelor with nothing to my name. But now, as a recognized fighting king in the Jiama Empire, I finally had the standing to offer her the life she deserved. I walked into the attic, finding Yafei hunched over her accounts. She looked breathtaking in a red brocade robe, blending grace with intellect. I watched her for a moment before she looked up, her charming smile instantly melting my nerves as she asked how long I'd been standing there. I teased her, claiming that just seeing her was a dream for many men in Wutan City, including myself. She laughed, charmed by my words. When she asked about my progress, I told her the truth. I had finally broken through to the level of a fighting king just yesterday. Her eyes widened in pure shock. For a 16-year-old to reach such a height is unheard of, even for the current patriarch of the middle family. I could see her awe, but then I decided to take the leap. I asked her plainly if she actually felt the same way about me. She hesitated for a heartbeat before finally whispering that she did. That single soft word was everything I needed to hear in that moment. I pulled her into a tight embrace, swearing to protect her. The air between us grew heavy with a sweet, lingering tension as I kissed her. Despite my joy, a shadow of worry remained. Her cultivation talent was low, and I knew the path ahead would be difficult for her alone. I reached into my system space and pulled out a 7th grade Nirvana pill. With this, I could finally give her the gift of true potential. I presented Yafei with a 7th rank elixir, a treasure so rare it far exceeds anything ever seen in the Jiama Empire. She was stunned. Even the legendary Pill King only reaches the 6th rank, proving that my mysterious teacher is incredibly powerful. I promised to protect her while she refined the pill. In exchange, this gift would change her destiny and her strength forever. Yafei retreated to the practice room to begin. I stood guard outside, sensing the massive energy swirling within the walls. The elixir's power was explosive yet gentle, slowly rebuilding her body and purging every single impurity from her system. After 3 days of intense refinement, her breath finally stabilized. She had leaped from a doja to a 5-star doshi. She needed to wash away the physical impurities first. When she finally emerged, her beauty was more radiant and flawless than ever. I couldn't help but admire her. We shared a quiet, intimate moment, and I told her, I hope she becomes my wife. Leaving her behind, I returned to the Xiao estate. Seeing my clansmen's hopeful eyes reminded me of my responsibility to them. I know the Yunlin sect poses a future threat, but as a Do Wang, I can now guarantee our family's authority. I visited my father, Xiao Yan. He no longer sees me as just a child, but as the family's beacon of hope. I handed him a storage ring containing 700 pills to elevate our warriors from the rank of Doja upward. I also provided 16 6th-rank pills for our top elites, including my father, Xiao Yan, and my 2 older brothers. Father was speechless. With these resources, the rise of the Xiao family is no longer a dream, but an inevitability. The pills alone aren't enough. To truly thrive and grow, we need more resources and a larger territory to control. I suggested a bold move to my father. It is finally time that the Xiao family unified the entirety of Wutan City. I remembered the tragedy the Xiao family faced in the original story, and I refused to let history repeat itself. I told my father my plan. I would eliminate our rivals tonight, and then he would reveal his new strength. Under the cover of midnight, I donned my night clothes and flew far outside the city to avoid any suspicion. I unfurled my massive white fire wings and soared toward the Jieli estate, appearing as a powerful fighting king. I let my voice boom across the city, accusing the Jieli family of stealing from me in a fit of rage. The patriarch Jielibi was terrified. I lied, claiming they had robbed my hidden cave in the Warcraft Mountains. I gave them 15 minutes to find my belongings, knowing full well they would never find anything at all. When time expired, I didn't hesitate. I unleashed an invisible flame that turned their elders into piles of ash. The silence that followed was deafening. The remaining Jiali members could only stare in absolute paralyzed horror. I didn't linger. I flew straight to the Abba family and repeated the slaughter, wiping out their leadership in moments. The city watched as the 2 great houses fell in one night, fearing the Xiao family might be next. Once I was sure no one followed me, I sneaked back into my room and collapsed, drained by the experience. By morning, the city was in chaos. Looters swarmed the fallen houses until my father stepped in to lead. Showing his Doling strength, father claimed all the properties, officially making the Xiao family the masters of Wutan City. We celebrated with a grand banquet for 3 days. Every influential person in the city came to bow to us. But I knew that power attracts danger. To protect this peace, I retreated to the back mountain to train. I opened the translucent apparatus scroll, feeling the dizzying distortion of space as I studied its complex secrets. By absorbing the ray of space origin within the scroll, I began the process of evolving my physical body. After half a day, a strange new talent awakened inside me, making the mastery of space magic finally possible. I looked at the scroll again, and this time the dizziness was gone. Instead, a strange sense of space emerged. It seems that ray of space origin was far more powerful than I imagined. I was finally ready to begin. I formed a special mark to absorb the inheritance, spreading my soul power until every grain of sand in the cave was known. As the knowledge flooded my mind, the world blurred into mysterious images. I felt a sudden shock and deep drowsiness. When I woke, I found myself in a silver space. I watched the images again, this time with perfect clarity. I took a single step, and suddenly I was at the cave entrance. I had successfully folded the space between 2 points. Even stranger, a perfect image of myself remained in the cave. I had mastered the most basic form of apparition. This technique is truly heaven-defying. Eventually, I will be able to summon multiple physical clones to fight by my side. I spent the next 5 months in intense training on the outskirts of the Warcraft Mountains, pushing my limits every day. I spent my time fighting against my own Do-Chi clone. We were mirror images, clad in white armor and swords. That equipment was not just for show. I used the Falling Heart Flame to solidify the armor and the blades. Through constant sparring and the help of elixirs, I have successfully reached the level of a 5-star Duwang. Canaan Academy starts its recruitment soon, but I do not need their classrooms. I already have my own path to follow. I will wait for Han Feng to move. Then I will seize both his flame and the Academy's Falling Heart Flame. First, though, I will explore the predecessor's cave in the mountains. I can secure the treasures before Xiao Yan does. By giving those treasures to the doctor and Xiao Yan later, I can trigger some massive system compensations for myself. I decided to take a walk through the Xiao estate. The place has expanded significantly since I was last here. I ran into my cousin Xiao Yu. She has grown stronger under the patriarch's guidance and looked happy to see me. Finally, I spotted Xiao Yan. He looked a bit flustered, likely because he had just left Xiao Shen'er's room. I could not resist teasing him about it. He just gave me that awkward smile, knowing I had caught him. I ran into Xiao Yan, and judging by that silly smile on his face, it was obvious he had just been with Zhener. I teased him a bit, but then we spoke about his progress. He has finally broken through to the Dushi rank. He credited the elixir I gave him, and his determination to win the 3-year agreement and restore our family's honor was clear. After I left, I didn't realize that Yao Lao had noticed something. He suspected I was the one who wiped out the Alba family. Knowing my hidden strength, Xiao Yan felt a new surge of motivation to train even harder to catch up to me. As for me, the time had come. I spent my morning preparing the essentials for a long journey of solo cultivation. I gathered healing medicines, tents, and food, storing everything in my ring to ensure I was ready for any challenge ahead. Before leaving, I headed to the auction house to see Ya Fei. Seeing her in her element always felt special to me. I couldn't help but be affectionate, holding her close and remembering her scent, knowing we would not meet for a long time. I told her I would be gone for 1.5 years. She looked reluctant, but she understood my need for growth. To support her, I gave her a ring containing 34th and 5th grade pills, enough to help her reach Dohuang rank. Ya Fei handled the rest of my supplies with her usual efficiency, making sure I had everything needed for my survival. We spent one last quiet evening together before I returned home to face the reality of my impending departure. The next morning, I spoke with my father. He was reluctant to see me go, but he fully supported my ambitions. He told me that a talent like mine could not be confined to Wutan City, and the world was waiting for me. I packed my few remaining belongings, took one last look at my room, and stepped out into the morning light. With the respectful gazes of the family guards behind me, I walked away from home, ready to soar into the unknown. I flew across the sky toward the Warcraft Mountains, my wind pressure carving a shallow gully into the forest below. After half a day, I reached Qingshan Town, the place where the little Dr. Fairy resides in the original story. I wore a black robe to keep a low profile, walking through streets filled with rough mercenaries and their rowdy talk. I soon spotted a large medicinal shop called Wanyao Jai. This was the place I had been looking for. Inside, moonstones lit the shop like daylight. I headed straight for the counter to find a very specific treasure. I was hunting for Blood Lotus Essence, a key material for the 5th grade Blood Lotus pill which I needed for practice. Once refined, I could give the pill to Xiao Yan to help him endure the strange fire and boost his strength. I noticed one yellow lotus essence looked different. I showed my storage ring to the clerk to ensure he would be cooperative. After the clerk handed it over, I checked the red tint and the scent of blood. It was definitely the real thing. I paid 100 gold coins without hesitation, securing the material before anyone else could realize its true value. With the essence in hand, I found a local inn to rest and plan my next move toward the predecessor's cave. The next morning, I spent an hour in deep meditation, feeling my power grow as the sun began to rise. I returned to Wanyao Jai, hoping to finally catch a glimpse of the legendary little Dr. Fairy. There she was, a woman in a pale white dress with a calm smile and a refined, elegant temperament. Her beauty was striking, but her presence and the way she treated the wounded confirmed her identity to me. Now that I had found her, I needed to locate the predecessor's cave, which lay hidden on a nearby cliff. I learned that the shop's team was heading into the Warcraft Mountains soon to gather rare medicinal herbs. Rather than searching blindly, I decided to follow the herb collection team and track the path they took. A few days later, I quietly trailed the group as they marched toward the basin of the Warcraft Mountains. After arriving at the basin, I spent the evening locking onto a few suspicious cliffs that matched the descriptions. At dawn, I flew to the second cliff on my list and finally discovered the hidden entrance to the predecessor's cave. I stood before the cave entrance, where rubble and twisted trees blocked my path. A rock snake was coiled inside. With a simple surge of my energy, I swept the debris and the monster away, revealing the hidden entrance. The passage was narrow and bore the marks of old blades, signaling that this place had been visited long ago. I walked through the silence and darkness for 10 minutes until a glowing yellow stone door appeared before me. I did not bother looking for a mechanism. The door was thick, but I simply forced it open with raw strength. Inside was a massive chamber illuminated by moonstones. In the center sat a skeleton resting upon a stone seat. I spotted 3 locked boxes on a platform and piles of gold and jewels in the corners of the room. I swept the treasures into my ring. They were worth a fortune, though they paled compared to my existing billions. A faint fragrance drew me to a flower bed, where I found the rare, alternating ice spirit flame grass. This was the final ingredient I needed for the blood lotus pill. I carefully collected it using my jade tools. I approached the skeleton and recovered the black keys and a remnant picture of the third-ranked Jinglian Yao Huo. After burying the predecessor's remains, I used the keys to unlock the 3 stone boxes resting on the table. Inside, I found the Guangxi Ling fighting skill, the colorful poison sutra, and the high-level flying skill, eagle wings. I smiled to myself, thinking of how Xiao Yan and Xiao Yishan would find nothing but an empty cave. Now, I needed a place to work. I found a secluded cave, cleaned it, and set up my medicine cauldron. I used a 6th-order cauldron, though I still dream of owning one from the legendary Tianding list one day. Refining a 5th-grade blood lotus pill is risky. To ensure success, I decided to practice with rejuvenation pills first. My first attempt failed when I lost control of the heat, burning the elixir. It was a necessary lesson. After recovering my spirit, I tried again. This time, I successfully refined an emerald green rejuvenation pill. Now a true 5th-grade pharmacist, I turned my full attention to the complex process of creating the blood lotus pill. It took a full day of intense focus and soul power, but finally, a reddish fragrance filled the air. I had done it. The blood lotus pill was complete, leaving me with a profound sense of accomplishment. I spent the next month hunting for materials, fighting level 5 monsters that were equivalent to Duwang power. Using my secret techniques and skyfires, I overcame these beasts and refined 5 more 5th-grade pills. Between the battles and the brewing, my cultivation finally broke through to the level of a 6-star Duwang. With my goals met, it is time to head to Qingshan Town and find Xiao Yan and Xiao Yingshan. I packed my medicine cauldron and miscellaneous items into the Najie, then spread my wings to fly toward Qingshan Town. As I reached the boundary between the Warcraft mountain range and the town, the sounds of a fierce battle echoed nearby. Normally, I would ignore such skirmishes, but my interest piqued when I heard the name Xiao Yan being shouted. I swept my soul power across the mountain range, immediately uncovering the situation unfolding beneath the forest canopy. Xiao Yan and Xiao Yixian were being hunted by the Langtao mercenary group led by a 2-star doshi named Mu She. Xiao Yan was holding his own as a fighting master, but his stamina and fighting spirit were slowly draining away. I decided to intervene, activating my apparatus phantom secret technique to teleport directly in front of my startled brother. The sudden appearance of my figure silenced the forest, leaving everyone paralyzed with a mixture of confusion and horror. I released my momentum, crushing the will of the mercenaries and leaving them breathless under the weight of my power. "Moo!" she gasped in shock, recognizing the wings on my back and realizing I had already become a Du Wang. Xiao Yan looked at me with relief, calling out to his 3rd brother, which sent a wave of shock through everyone. The mercenaries immediately dropped to their knees, begging for mercy and pleading for their lives in absolute terror. I looked at them with indifference. Anyone who dared to hunt my brother had already sealed their own fate. With a simple gesture, I unleashed invisible flames that incinerated the entire mercenary group into black ash in an instant. Once the area was clear, I turned to Xiao Yan and teased him about his luck in spending time with beautiful women. Xiao Yan explained that he had killed the mercenary leader's son after a dispute over a mysterious predecessor's cave. I smiled when he mentioned his frustration over finding nothing in the cave. The irony of the situation was perfect. I pretended to be apologetic, telling them that I had actually explored that same cave a month prior to them. Seeing their disappointment, I laughed and offered to share the treasures I had obtained during my own visit. I handed Xiao Yan several 5th-grade elixirs, including blood lotus and restoration pills, to aid his cultivation and recovery. To ensure his growth, I also gifted him 2 advanced Xuan-level skills, the Ziyun Wing and the powerful Guangxilin. I handed Xiao Yan 2 precious Xuan-level fighting skills, including a rare flying technique that left him and the little fairy doctor stunned. I explained that while most must reach the Duwang rank to fly, this special skill grants that freedom much sooner. As he stored the gifts, my system triggered a massive 100,000 times critical strike compensation. I was floored. I received the Earth-level skills Cutting the Sky Finger and Peng's Wings along with several high-grade pills. Then, I turned to the little fairy doctor, giving her recovery pills and the 7-color poison classic. I revealed the secret of her Anandu body, a rare poisonous physique that brings immense power but eventual agony. Seeing this sadness in her eyes, I couldn't let her lose hope. I promised her that in 3 years, I could solve it. That glimmer of hope in her expression made the interaction worthwhile, even as the system rewarded me again. This time, a 10,000 times critical strike gave me the 9-colored poison sutra and several Zhenghuang pills. The sutra was the real prize, containing the secret to curing the Anandu body and poisons that could affect a Du Shang. With the gifts delivered, I flew back to my secluded cave in the Warcraft mountain range to process my gains. The new Zhengzong pills were incredible, capable of boosting a Du Zong's strength by several stars. I decided to start with the Peng's Wings, a skill derived from the legendary 8th Order monster, the Qing Tianpeng. The Golden Scroll fought back with a powerful soul attack, but my training as a pharmacist gave me the edge. After winning the soul battle, I began the process of integrating the skill into my own body. The energy tore through my meridians, forcing 2 new branches to erupt from my back in an explosion of pain. I gasped for air, sweating profusely, but I knew this agony was the price for attaining the power of flight. After the intense pain finally subsided, I caught my breath and healed my wounds with a potent elixir. Learning that flying skill was far more brutal than I ever expected, but the result was worth it. I checked my back in a mirror and saw 2 palm-sized golden rock wing tattoos etched into my skin. As I poured my fighting spirit into them, a pair of massive golden wings suddenly erupted from my back. They consumed twice the energy of my usual wings, but the speed boost was absolutely incredible. I soared into the blue sky, moving 6 times faster than before. Even a Duhuang could not catch me. Once I mastered the speed, I returned to my cave to tackle another high-level skill called Tianji. I spent half an hour flooding the scroll with my Do Qi until it began to crack and glow. With a sudden burst of golden light, the information surged into my mind, nearly making my head explode. The skill was divided into 2 styles. The first, Jietian Ishi, could seal an opponent's energy upon impact. The second style was far more destructive, reserved for Du Zongs to crush enemies with a giant finger. I also learned there was a peak-tier version called the Hand of the Gods, which fueled my ambition. Over the next month and a half, I focused on opening 5 specific meridians to unlock the first style. To ensure a solid foundation, I used a Zhangwang pill and broke through to the 8-star Do Wang level. A few weeks later, I put my training to the test against a 5th-level flame eagle in the mountains. I vanished using my phantom movement and struck the eagle's wing, instantly sealing its fighting energy. While it struggled, I formed a white flame armor on my fist and delivered a fatal blow to its head. In just a month and a half, I had reached the 9-star Du Wang level and mastered the technique. From the carcass, I recovered a magic core and a rare red beast fire to help Xiao Yan later. Now, my next goal is to reach the Du Huang rank and evolve my fire-shaping abilities further. I gazed at the massive fire python before me, a creature I had crafted from pure flame with my own hands. Its eyes sparkled with a newfound intelligence, a sign that my secret technique of shaping fire had finally succeeded. When I reached out to touch it, the serpent nudged my hand affectionately, recognizing my touch as its master's love. I felt a deep sense of satisfaction, realizing the falling heart flame's nature made endowing it with wisdom much easier. This success gave me the confidence I needed to eventually shape other objects and grant them similar spiritual wisdom. However, my thoughts soon drifted back to my primary goal of breaking through the formidable threshold of the Do Huang level. I needed a place where I wouldn't be disturbed, so I spent a day scouring the Warcraft mountains for a secluded spot. After finding a perfect, inaccessible cave, I blocked the entrance with massive boulders to ensure my privacy during the breakthrough. Deep inside, I took out a 5th-grade Pohuang pill, feeling the immense energy it contained for my cultivation journey. The elixir held enough power to equal half a year of daily practice, so I had to be extremely careful with its refinement. I began the grueling process of refining the energy, focusing my entire spirit on the powerful burning spirit Ju technique. 5 long days passed in solitude before the cyclone of energy finally dissipated, leaving me officially as a Do Huang. The power surging through my veins felt like a mountain torrent, making me feel like a true powerhouse in this world. Just as I basked in my triumph, The system chimed, offering me a generous reward for my significant progress. I received experience cards for 3 different cultivation ranks, ensuring I could handle any sudden threats from my enemies. To celebrate this milestone, I decided to indulge in a well-deserved meal and a night of relaxation after months of hardship. I flew toward the city of Yancheng, cloaking my identity in a simple black robe to avoid attracting any unwanted attention. I sought out the city's most luxurious establishment, where I spent a fortune just to enjoy some high-quality music. I watched the dancers and listened to the melodies, reflecting on the desires I had suppressed for so long in my life. The next morning, I woke up with a sense of fulfillment, knowing I had honored a wish from my previous life. But the time for leisure was over. I returned to my cave to resume my intense training and improve my strength. A month and a half later, I reached the 3-star Duhuang rank, feeling my cultivation base stabilize and grow stronger. I know that Yunyun will soon be seeking help, and I am prepared to rescue her from her seal. I will be waiting for the right moment to enter her heart and change our destiny for the better. I was foraging for medicinal materials in the Warcraft mountain range when I heard the clash of battle nearby. Staying hidden, I peeked out and saw a familiar face. It was my 4th brother, Xiao Yan. He was taking on a 2nd-tier ironwood ape, and he handled the beast with effortless precision. With one final strike, the ape collapsed. I noticed Xiao Yan had already reached the 7-star fighter level. He has made incredible progress. I decided to stop hiding and flew toward him with a smile. Xiao Yan sensed me immediately, shifting into a fighting stance before realizing it was actually me. He relaxed and rubbed his head sheepishly, surprised to run into me in this part of the mountains. I was surprised too. I had been waiting for Yunyun, but meeting Xiao Yan was a welcome coincidence. I asked about the little Dr. Immortal. Xiao Yan explained they had spent months practicing together in a valley. It seems my presence in this world has already started shifting the original timeline of the story. I could not resist teasing him about spending so much time alone with a beautiful girl in the wilderness. After some banter, I asked about his alchemy progress. He told me he could now refine 2nd-grade elixirs. To show my support, I summoned the Falling Heart Flame, though it remained invisible to the naked eye. Xiao Yan recognized the power. He knew this was the legendary 14th-ranked Heavenly Flame that pharmacists crave. I told him that while I could not give him a Heavenly Flame yet, I had something else useful. I handed him a jade bottle containing a 5th-order beast fire to aid his current growth. As soon as he accepted it, the system notification echoed in my mind with a loud chime. I had triggered 1,000,000 times critical strike compensation for the gift I gave to Xiao Yan. The reward was staggering. I had just obtained the legendary Qinglian Earth Heart Fire. I could not believe my luck. Giving away a small item had yielded one of the most powerful flames. I patted Xiao Yan on the shoulder and warned him to stay safe in the depths of the range. We bid each other farewell, and I stretched my golden wings to take to the skies once more. I decided to wait until I found a remote location before attempting to refine the new heart fire. 3 days later, while meditating in a cave, a violent explosion and a lion's roar shook the air. I rushed outside and saw a graceful woman locked in a fierce struggle with the mighty Lion King. It was Yunyun. She was fighting for the purple spirit crystal, their energies splitting the sky in two. This was my first time seeing a Dohong battle. I needed to get a closer look. I swapped my golden wings for my transparent white ones to maintain stealth as I glided toward the fight. I flew quickly through the jungle, staying low until I reached the battle circle and perched atop a giant tree. From my hiding spot, I watched the amethyst-winged Lion King. Its body was covered in shimmering purple crystals. A red spiral horn crowned its head, while purple flames flickered around it and its massive wings surged with fire. Looking at that blend of beauty and power, I couldn't help but think how incredible it would be as a mount. Then my gaze shifted to the woman I had long waited for, the master of the Yunlan sect, the elegant Yunyun. She stood calmly in the sky, her blue hair tied in a phoenix ornament, wearing a simple yet noble dress. Even in such simple attire, her grace was undeniable. Getting into the heart of such a woman would normally be impossible. The Lion King finally lost its patience, demanding to know why she was disturbing its rest in the Warcraft Mountains. Yunyun's voice was clear and sweet as she explained her need to borrow the Lion King's purple spirit crystal. The Lion King mocked her, demanding a rare transformation pill in exchange for a piece of its crystalline body. Since Yunyun didn't have the pill, the negotiation failed instantly. The tension snapped and a fight became inevitable. She raised her hand, summoning a massive cyan tornado that tore the surrounding trees into sawdust with violent force. I watched closely, noting they were both 3-star Do Huang. It was a clash of wind skills versus raw power. The battle raged from noon until the sun began to dip below the horizon, neither side gaining a clear advantage. As darkness approached, the Lion King grew impatient, knowing its fighting power would weaken once the sun fully set. It unleashed the amethyst seal, a deep purple beam that shattered Yunyun's wind blades and pierced through her shields. The Lion King lunged forward with a giant claw, while Yunyun countered with a piercing light called meteor killing. The impact was devastating. The Lion King's horn was shot off, but Yunyun took a severe hit to her chest. Badly wounded, Yunyun used her speed to vanish from the battlefield. I immediately spread my wings and pursued her. I watched her speed falter until she began to plummet toward a stream. I dove down, catching her just in time. As I held her, I felt the warmth and softness of her skin. It was a sensation I won't soon forget. Yunyun blinked, seeing my face. A look of peace crossed her features before she fell into a deep sleep. Looking down, I saw 5 terrifying claw marks across her chest, her clothes stained crimson with fresh blood. I quickly produced a 5th-grade rejuvenation pill and gently placed it between her lips for her to swallow. Her complexion improved slightly. I then flew her back to the cave to ensure she received further treatment. I tried to play it cool, but my heart was pounding like thunder as I rushed out of the cave. I didn't see the sweet smile Yunyun gave me, thinking I was just a shy boy. Once I calmed down, I knew I couldn't just walk back in immediately. I needed a plan and some dinner. To keep her safe, I cast an energy clone to guard the entrance while I went hunting for food. Spreading my golden rock wings, I soared into the sky, searching for something better than just dry rations. I spotted a herd of sturdy goats and quickly took the fattest one, along with some cattle and fruit. I used my red flame sword to prep the meat. It is a powerful weapon, but today it is a kitchen knife. After cleaning the ingredients by the river, I returned to the cave and dismissed my energy clone. Inside, Yunyun looked completely different from the dignified sect master. She looked like a bored woman waiting for her husband. Since her clothes were torn, she wore my black robe, which suited her graceful figure and mysterious charm perfectly. I set up a stone table and used my strange fire to create a transparent pan for a teppanyaki feast. Yunyun was stunned. Only alchemists know how rare strange fires are, and she was visibly amazed by the sight. I told her plainly that I was a high-ranked pharmacist, though I lacked the materials to officially reach 6th rank. She seemed impressed not just by my power, but by the fact that I stayed humble despite my achievements. I showed her how to mix seasonings for the meat, and she looked at me with wide, curious eyes. As we shared the meal, I could tell she was starting to see me in a whole new light. I looked at Yunyun and couldn't help but smile. She had gone from a graceful noble to a cute, ordinary girl. I tried the meat she prepared, but when she tasted her own sauce, she frowned. The flavor was quite strange. I realized then that just like in the original story, her talent was for cultivation, not for the kitchen. I offered to help her adjust the flavor. She blushed, admitting her lack of skill while describing the taste she liked. As we ate, I asked for her name. She told me she was called Yunji, her eyes flickering with caution. I gave her a fake name too, calling myself Xiao Kun. We both knew the other was hiding their true identity. It made sense. With her powers sealed, she was vulnerable. My own true identity would only make things complicated. Between bites of mutton, I asked if she still planned to face the amethyst-winged Lion King once she recovered. She sighed and told me she needed the purple spirit crystal. I honestly told her I wasn't optimistic about her chances. She frowned, explaining that she wasn't weaker than the beast. She had simply been caught off guard by a sealing technique. I told her to get some rest and took over the chores. She thanked me and began dissolving the seal. Over the next few days, we grew closer. The distance created by her high status slowly began to fade away. On the 3rd day, I went out to search for medicinal materials, leaving an energy avatar to guard the cave. While flying south, I glanced down at a nearby creek and suddenly saw a flash of white in the water. I froze in midair. Yunyun was taking a bath and had spotted me looking down from the sky. She screamed in shock and tried to cover herself. I panicked, shouting that I hadn't seen anything before flying away. I felt a wave of shame when I realized my avatar had hidden itself to be respectful, yet I had failed. I quickly hid as I heard her returning. When I saw her, her face was flushed with embarrassment and anger. Yunyun was clearly still shaken, so I decided it was best to stay hidden for a while. I watched from the shadows as she walked back to the cave with hesitant, faltering steps. Poor Yunyun, she was likely mortified that I had accidentally seen her while she was bathing. She had guarded her modesty for years, and now a young man like me had seen everything. Despite her embarrassment, she had no choice but to return since she currently lacked her full power. She sat in the cave, lost in thought, while I waited for the right moment to reappear. Suddenly, the howls of 2 wolf-like magic beasts echoed from the pool where she had been bathing. It seemed the scent left behind from her bath had attracted some third-tier monsters to the area. I didn't hesitate. I spread my golden rock wings and soared into the sky in an instant. With a quick motion, I launched 2 massive fire snakes that struck the beasts like bolts of lightning. The monsters were defeated easily, their bones cracking under the overwhelming force of my attack. This was the perfect opportunity. I could use these monsters as an excuse to break the awkward silence. I could explain that I rushed back to protect her, turning a mistake into a heroic rescue. Taking a deep breath to calm my nerves, I slowly stepped back into the quiet of the cave. I didn't see her at first, but my soul force warned me that she was right behind me. Before I could even say hello, I felt the cold edge of a long sword pressed against my throat. I knew she couldn't actually hurt me in her current state, but I played along and acted scared. She looked icy and distant, her beautiful face clouded with anger as she held the blade steady. I gave her a wry smile and insisted that what happened at the pool was a complete accident. I then mentioned the wolves, telling her that I had come back early to save her from danger. Since she didn't know about my secret clones, my story sounded plausible, and her expression softened. With a defeated sigh, she lowered her sword and told me to just pretend the incident never happened. As she turned away, I felt a surge of boldness. I looked at her and declared I would be responsible for her. She paused, clearly stunned. I could tell she was conflicted, but she didn't actually say no. We spent the next few hours in silence, both of us focusing on our cultivation and practice. By midnight, the silence was broken by the sound of her stomach growling. She looked so embarrassed. I smiled and offered her some roasted chicken, knowing she was likely hungry despite her cultivation level. As we shared the meal, the tension finally melted away, replaced by a strange, warm intimacy. She softly told me that she should be able to break her seal by tomorrow. While it was good news, I felt a hint of sadness knowing our close proximity might soon end. Yan told me she planned to face the amethyst-winged Lion King again once her strength recovered. I couldn't let her go alone. I stepped up and told her that I would handle the fight. I told her I would avenge her, but I had a few hidden motives for taking the lead. Subduing the Lion King would provide a powerful guardian for Wutan City and the Xiao family. More importantly, I wanted the amethyst crystal for myself to trigger a critical strike in my cultivation. Yan seemed surprised. She was used to being the strong one that everyone else relied upon. Knowing that I was actually there to support her clearly touched her heart, and she finally agreed. That night, while she rested, I sat in deep meditation, focusing my energy for the coming battle. Seeing her sleep so peacefully, I gently covered her with a cloth and smiled before returning to my practice. When the morning light hit the cave, Yun woke up looking absolutely stunning in a snow-white dress. I told her how beautiful she looked. She blushed and acted indifferent, but we set off immediately. I spread my golden rock wings and soared into the sky, with Yun following closely behind me. We arrived at the Lion King's lair, where the defenses had become much stricter since her last visit. I didn't want to waste time, so I launched 2 massive sword beams directly at the cave entrance. The explosion killed many guards and drew the furious roar of the amethyst-winged Lion King. He charged out of the cave like lightning, screaming that he would take our lives today. I calmly told Yun to stand aside and watch. I wanted to show her my true capabilities. The Lion King laughed, thinking I was a fool for choosing to fight him one-on-one. As he lunged with a devastating purple claw, I vibrated my wings and vanished from his sight. He struck nothing but an afterimage, realizing my speed was far greater than he had ever imagined. The amethyst-winged Lion King lunged at me like lightning, but with my golden wings he was far too slow. I treated the battle like a cat playing with a mouse, dodging every strike without him even touching my clothes. The Lion King was bewildered that another Do Huang could possess such speed, realizing my wings were the secret to my agility. From the sidelines, Yun finally began to relax as she saw how easily I was handling the monstrous creature. Frustrated by my teasing, the Lion King roared for a head-on battle, and I decided it was time to test something new. I channeled the invisible flames from my core, circulating them through my body to activate the heart flame transformation. Suddenly, my aura surged, reaching the power of a 6-star Du Huang, leaving the Lion King stunned and visibly worried. I rushed forward, my red flame sword glowing with invisible heat, and aimed a lethal strike directly at the Lion King's eyes. He blocked with his amethyst claws and purple fire, but my blade sliced right through, extinguishing his flames instantly. The horror on his face was priceless as he realized I possessed a heavenly fire, the natural nemesis of his species. Panicking, the Lion King let out a guttural roar, calling for reinforcements from across the Warcraft Mountains. Within moments, 50 high-rank monsters and 3 fighting king-level beasts surrounded me, attempting to trap me in their circle. Yan tried to step in and help, but I stopped her with a smile, confident I could handle this alone. The Lion King thought he had me cornered, but I simply formed a seal and activated my Do Chi clone technique. Two perfect copies of myself emerged from my battle energy, each possessing a majestic aura that mirrored my own power. The Lion King's smug expression froze as my clones charged into the herd, sending the monster army into a chaotic retreat. With his subordinates fleeing in terror, the Lion King was left alone to face me and my clones in a desperate struggle. To end this quickly, I used the sculpting fire technique, manifesting a massive, transparent white flame scorpion known as Hua Ji. The scorpion's roar was like a dragon's, shaking the very earth and causing nearby mountains to crumble from the pressure. With a single flick of my finger, Hua Ji charged, slamming the Lion King into a mountainside with the force of a cannonball. The beast crawled from the ruins, bloodied and broken, with his once solid amethyst armor now riddled with deep cracks. Seeing him still standing, my fire scorpion gathered energy and unleashed a devastating white pillar of fire upon the fallen king. In a final, desperate act, the Lion King compressed all his purple energy into a single, piercing beam called the Amethyst Seal. My red fire beam clashed with the Lion King's purple light, creating a shockwave that distorted the very air around us. The fire was overwhelming. I watched it push back the purple beam, nearly obliterating the beast in a single strike. At the last moment, I signaled for the beam to shift, leaving the Lion King shaken but alive and terrified. While he was reeling, my avatars finished off his remaining minions, adding several high-order magic cores to my storage ring. The Lion King was confused as to why I spared him. I told him simply that my family needed a guardian beast. He refused at first, fearing the shame of being a servant, but I had a much more tempting offer prepared. I mentioned the transformation pills. These rare treasures allow a beast to take human form and cultivate far more efficiently. Most importantly, they allow a beast to bypass the deadly thunder calamity during their advancement to the 7th level. I offered 2 pills, one for him and one for his son, but warned him that I could easily find another beast. Facing death or a miracle, the Lion King immediately surrendered. He was stunned when I handed over the pills instantly. His fear turned into a strange kind of admiration. I had just beaten him, yet I was more generous than anyone he knew. Yan flew over to check on me, her face full of concern. I couldn't resist teasing her with a flirtatious comment. Watching her blush and stumble back was the highlight of my day. Even in the middle of a wasteland, she was stunning! But business first. I demanded the purple spirit crystal and the crystal source, offering shaping pills to seal the deal. I noticed Yan's shock. She is starting to realize that my resources and status are far beyond what she first imagined. I officially named him the Lion King, and in return, he began addressing me as the young patriarch of my family. He even tried calling Yun my wife. I corrected him to call her Sister Yun, though I secretly enjoyed the idea. With everything settled, we headed to his cave. The interior was a breathtaking expanse of naturally formed amethyst crystals.